Genshin Impact. One of the most popular open world games of the past decade and a massive step forward for the gacha genre. Loved by millions of players for its massive world, expansive story, beautiful visuals, and colorful characters. You see, I'd cash in on this trend, but there's one small problem. I don't like Genshin Impact. And I can't believe I spent over 100 hours playing it. I have quite the history with gacha games. In the span of a few short years, I've gone from praising my favorites in videos to despising the genre as a whole. But while these life-sucking applications usually keep to themselves in some regard, a little menace named Genshin Impact has made quite the splash since its release in September of 2020. Instead of reading a soulless ad for a game they'd never played, streamers and creators alike, while still sponsored of course, were actually playing Genshin Impact upon release, resulting in more mainstream attention than any gacha game I can recall. It's clear that Genshin had an incredibly strong launch and continues to remain a trending topic with each new record-breaking banner and event release. Alongside becoming the most profitable game ever in the first year of release by generating an estimated $3.7 billion, it has cast its dark influence over my friends by expanding its reach to PC and consoles. I've spent the better part of a year debating whether or not to even bring attention to Genshin on this channel, as I previously wrote an entire article about why I didn't want to come anywhere near it. But recently, while working on a video about open world games, I thought it would be remiss to not at least dip my toes in what is arguably one of the most popular open world games of all time. So, fresh off the heels of playing Breath of the Wild, I decided to hop in and see what this seemingly revolutionary experience was all about. And what do I think? I feel upset every time I think about this game. It makes me want to, I don't know, beat the shit out of a 5-foot cardboard cutout or something. Genshin Impact shamelessly steals mechanics from other popular games while completely disregarding what makes any video game fun to play. From a ruthless gacha system with abysmal rates to a crass amalgamation of mobile game grinding fused into open world exploration, Genshin is the most disappointing 100+ hours I've ever spent playing a video game. Oh, that's so many hours. I knew I'd get jumped on if I tried criticizing the game without giving it a shot, so for the sake of creating a comprehensive analysis, let the record show that I did quite a bit more than just dabble in this hellscape over the past few months. At least Sonic Forces was over in 3 hours. My biggest problem is that at its core, like many other mobile games, Genshin Impact is designed to entrance and addict. It just makes its malicious practices harder to spot by hiding them among picturesque landscapes and horny anime women that make me feel like my headphones are going to suddenly come unplugged every time I decide to climb a wall. Really glad I gave the game kernel-level access to my computer for this.
Oh, it's you, little cutie. It's so good to see you.
Never mind, this game's pretty good. For a game that prides itself on being an open world, I don't think I've ever encountered one as restrictive as Genshin Impact, especially in its early stages. And by early stages, I mean that the prologue took me longer than the length of your average video game. Alongside the adventurer rank system continuously forcing me to explore instead of progressing main story quests, every dungeon I discovered for the first 20 or so hours had a level gate barring me from entry. While putting an AR-16 restriction on tons of content within the beginning areas of the game and an even higher cap on others is ridiculous, I think it's a very purposeful decision to inject the game with repetitive grindy mechanics, but hide them away until players are sufficiently invested. It took me 40 goddamn hours to unlock fishing! These sick fucks! After my first few hours with the game, I called Genshin a lifeless Breath of the Wild ripoff with every addictive mobile game design tactic plastered on top, and I'd like to apologize to Nintendo. Making a comparison between this and an actually good video game is frankly insulting, since the surface level comparisons quickly fade away as you discover that Genshin Impact is not only a monotonous button masher anime RPG, but also clearly failed at copying anything meaningful from Breath of the Wild. The wall climbing and glider mechanics are practically ripped out of Link's hands, and the game's world feels a bit more exciting than your average open world, as you can find a chest, secret, or camp of enemies around every every corner. However, since Genshin is a character-driven combat game, there is a severe lack of creativity in how you can approach points of interest or interact with the world. Puzzles often boil down to switching back and forth between the correct elements and abilities, and while I initially believed I could have fun knocking enemies off cliffs with Jean's Wind Blast, my excitement quickly faded after realizing it'd be a huge hassle to pick up their item drops unless I fought them correctly. When I made the connection that constant interaction with repetitive objectives is a necessary piece of the grind, the feeling of excitement that came with exploration fizzled away. Even daily missions, which are one of the many groan-inducing features that keep burnt-out players psychologically hooked, just mark locations with side quests or enemy camps and say, "Go do it again, you fucking animal!" The restrictions don't just end at level-gated dungeons or missions either, as Genshin is the most hand-holdy joke of an open world I've ever played. Practically nothing is left for the player to discover or experience in a way other than MiHoYo intends. Collectibles and quests constantly appear on the minimap, Paimon over-explains riddles so as to make every puzzle solution obvious, the camera immediately pans to each point of interest as characters recap the story, and dialogue is completely unskippable outside of mashing through text.
4 winds, 7 nations, 11 harbingers, 5 guys. Yeah, I'll take a double cheeseburger, no tomato.
These restrictions also extend to general exploration, which can become incredibly frustrating as you constantly wonder whether or not you've met the arbitrary requirements to go somewhere or solve a puzzle. On Dragonspine Mountain, you can't use the fire abilities of characters or create your own heat to stay warm. You have to light specifically placed torches or stand next to activatable heat machines to remove the chill debuff every so often. Most important ice structures can't be melted either. You instead have to run around and look for a little red power-up rock. Even attempting to simply climb the mountain from the outside will kick you back down with a loading screen and tell you to follow the side quest instructions instead.
Sorry for trying to use my brain, I guess.
The worst offender by far is Inazuma, where there are blatant invisible walls and tons of secrets that are straight up impossible to remove or discover naturally. I often found myself engrossed in seemingly cryptic mysteries and objects, only to later learn I was simply missing the prerequisite side quest that opened up a secret entrance or disabled the wall. Guess my electricity barrier level isn't high enough. Jesus Christ. Once you're done with enough menial tasks to hit the adventurer rank required for each story mission, you might realize that MiHoYo said, wait a minute, why copy from Breath of the Wild when we can copy bad game design? I don't know how they did it, but Genshin really managed to make some of the shittiest main quest lines I've ever seen. Hey AAA devs, you might want to write this one down. Start the mission, talk to this guy, follow Sparkles, talk to that guy, fast travel, talk to this guy, boring fight, remember that guy? Watch 5 cutscenes on the trail, gotta be stealthy, I failed. Fetch quest, oh yeah, take these rocks, do some taxes, chop my nuts off. The bosses are lame, what a shame, man, I hate this game. Man, I hate this game, 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 man, I hate this game. Then, once in a blue moon, after you're done skipping through the Legend of Zhongli and the million fetch quests, the game goes, look, a water god! And for a split second, even I got excited, like, oh man, this is gonna be so cool, and it's a tower defense against regular enemies while you watch turrets fire at it for 7 minutes. Genshin Impact builds up these incredible set pieces after hours of garbage that could actually bring some redeeming quality back to the experience, as their music and atmosphere are genuinely exciting, but the RPG system it's built upon muddies any sense of challenge if you're past the recommended strength. Or they make you fight Egg Golem. Sometimes I'd find myself absolutely decimating a story boss, and other times I had to have a friend help me grind artifacts because I bumped my world level up too high. Looking past just big boss fights, I'd try complementing the mission-specific dungeons you occasionally visit during story quests, but their puzzles are incredibly linear with solutions so telegraphed that the game basically points a big red thumbnail arrow at the answer. The only thing left for this game to do is target my weakness by having good music, and I can't let that happen. Genshin Impact's soundtrack is fantastic, and the environments are lovely too. Atmosphere and artistry are probably the only things I can direct genuine praise towards, because they're the only aspects of the game that aren't bogged down by mobile game certified lab rat pressing a lever for food scraps. Genshin is filled with hours upon hours of amazing music, and I think the most enjoyment I got out of the game was when I started stopped to listen to tracks that caught my interest, got stuck in a battle long enough to hear all the instruments kick in, or just stared off a cliff at a nice view. Also, the trailers do a really good job at making this game look like it's fun, so try not to be swayed by them. I honestly feel like this brief segment of praise should be longer, but I don't have much else to say other than I'm just floored by the music and art direction. I may not have felt a strong attachment to the world itself, but I was able to appreciate the diversity of the regions I visited, each with unique instruments and styles. That is, in the few moments when Paimon wasn't talking all the time. God, I wish I could punt this little shit like a soccer ball.
Paimon coming in!
In regards to Genshin Impact's writing, I'll summarize with what I feel encapsulates many of my feelings about the game. I'd love to love it, but man do I hate it. While its overarching plot is too generic RPG 7 gods for me to care, the stories within contain some of that incredibly interesting in theory, yet boring in execution kind of lore. There are certainly some fun character stories and wacky plot points, like how Hu Tao is a gremlin that lies to people about the afterlife because she knows people are too stupid to understand, Fischl was a sad girl who read too many books, so a god said, yeah, fuck it, you can roleplay, and Yanfei, she's my favorite so you don't have to ask, thanks, is a half-god fire mage that decided to become the world's best lawyer cause she felt like it. So when you open a chest, she goes,
Ooh, we can definitely write this off as incidental gains.
Remember when Zhongli quickly mentioned that the entire world's supply of money is minted by a god, but now that he's lost his power, he can't make money anymore and anyone can create counterfeit currency? Wait, why is no one talking about this? Why am I doing fetch quests again? Genshin Impact has some beautiful animated cutscenes and contains the kind of story that I enjoy when my friend gives me the recap, but bores me to tears if I actually pay attention to regular dialogue. The writers really love going on tangents and using 1,000 words where 10 would suffice, and while debating a lightning god in her mind realm after she almost blasts you to kingdom fuck is cool, the tens of hours it took to get there were less than enthralling.
Hey there!
He tried to use fork. His opponent was. Why don't you dodge? They ask. Don't even get me. I don't dare tell my man. Sorry, I shouldn't be.
Oh.
Thanks. I'll.
We still haven't got any useful information yet.
Sometimes I'd watch an epic story cutscene and then spend 5 minutes skipping through text as Paimon recapped exactly what happened. You know, so the toddlers can gamble too.
So, to recap, Yaimiko wants us to go back inside the plane of Euthymia by the statue of the omnipresent god.
Yeah, I got that the first time when Yaimiko literally told me to go back to the plane of Euthymia at the statue of the fucking whatever.
The most enjoyment I got out of Genshin by far was the character quest lines. Ironically enough, these segments would be the things that the writers get to put the most effort into, as they partially exist to help market characters obtainable through the gacha system. In a bizarre twist of fate, the dialogue was so engaging and the subplots so enthralling that for a few fleeting moments, I forgot that I was playing Genshin Impact. I found myself laughing at jokes, getting invested in characters, until Paimon interrupted every 2 seconds. Also, if you care about a story being resolved, good luck. The game is in a bizarre mega early access yet normal for gacha games phase of an experience, where there's tons of menial shit to do, but only 3 out of the 7 regions actually exist in the game so far. It's a bit difficult to get invested in the world of Teyvat when I know the thrilling conclusion won't be released until 2026 or something at this rate. The biggest problem with Genshin Impact's core gameplay is, well, it's actually kind of hard to pick one, but the overarching issue is that it's almost entirely a numbers game, as are many other mobile games. Like Assassin's Creed, barring main story quests and progression behind a level gate to drive microtransactions, Genshin implements the age-old tactic of being a soul-sucking nightmare of a grind to build an addiction. Just like every other gacha game on Earth, it's the aspect that people generally fail to mention when they talk about the fun gameplay or the cute girls. That to even get to the end game will take upwards of several 100 hours across multiple months. You can technically play the game as much as you want every day, but important items like character ascension materials are locked behind resin requirements, which is a limited resource that regenerates each day, which means, to an extent, Genshin controls how fast you progress. With the daily cap of 160, you can only fight 4 bosses without refilling, which, you guessed it, costs money. Performing your first character ascension is only scratching the surface though, as Genshin's grind is brutal. It's almost the entirety of the game. At later levels, you need copious amounts of hero's wit, an EXP material only earned through quests, chests, giveaways, and the resin I previously mentioned. There's also artifacts gained by completing
Specific
domains which
mobs
cost
required
resin,
for
and leveling up your
ascension,
weapons to level up, but you're gonna need and this bitch needs 20 pomegranates to get stronger, I guess. Also, there's no auto feature like most gacha games. Not saying auto is a good feature per se, but Genshin Impact really wants to take up as much of your time as humanly possible. Or inhumanly, I guess. Genshin is not a person, it's a beast. To counteract this seemingly endless grind, the game gives you achievements and primo gems for every single thing that occurs, from failing at cooking to getting struck by lightning, in a desperate attempt to keep the most primal synapses in the goop brain interested. Even though I despise this type of system, I used to be pretty addicted to gacha games, and I found myself playing Genshin for hours on end simply to keep getting those little achievements, mindlessly grind another dungeon, or make a bit more progress towards another pull on the slot machine. Genshin throws little gems at a monkey in the hopes that it'll go ooh shiny and continue to not notice the dumpster fire directly behind it. And it works! Problem is, in this situation, I was the monkey. We were all the monkeys! Do Grand Blue players get health benefits and paid sick leave for Guild Wars, or is it like a freelance thing? The saddest part about all this is that as I passed the 20 or 30 hour mark, I could begin to hear the faint cries of an actual video game echoing from beneath the monotony, and it made me really wish Genshin Impact wasn't what it is. I was actually having sorry, something in my throat. I was having no, I just can't do it. I can't say it. My soul will probably leave my body if I say the word fun. Damn it. Bosses like the Oceanid, Geovashap, and Child have cool gimmicks and great music that make them fairly entertaining the first time around, but all the novelty is stripped away when you have to fight them again. And again. And again, and again, and again, and again, again. My only real amusement came from futile attempts to push back against the rigidity of the game's design, like fighting enemies stronger than my current level, which required timing certain abilities and managing stamina for invulnerability frames on dashes. Even simple mechanics like these occasionally made farming a bit more exciting when I was at a perfect sweet spot of difficulty, but they didn't last for long. The absolute most fun I had was when I convinced 2 friends to join me on a suicide mission to Inazuma. Because the official way to get to the far-off continent is through a boat in the main questline, our only option was to alternate building ice bridges in a manual trek across the entire ocean. If this level of crackhead puzzle solving actually worked, I'd probably like Genshin a lot more. Problem is, MiHoYo does not want you doing this, so after about 20 minutes of travel, an intense thunderstorm spawned, and the only ground it could target was the tiny ice bridge. Inazuma is within my grasp. I can see it in the distance. I can see a faint purple glow on the mountain.
Let me in, let me in.
Let me in. There's this whole nation that's like, we hate visions, and then 3 men using magic powers to create an ice bridge. Hello!
Oh,
This
is it
is
mine?
it. This is it, men. We might have to start doing some sidestepping. Oh shit! Oh, come on! Keep going. We can do this. Oh shit! This is where the skill comes in. Oh fuck! I think we gotta like. Oh fuck! I love seeing the bodies ragged. No! I got the loading screen.
No, but I'm still on.
Despite a 0% chance of success, I cannot understate how much fun I had doing this. I felt like I was actually attempting to be creative, to push the game to its limits, instead of receding into the twisted open world Skinner box and pushing levers for another 5 hours.
Oh my god. god, that was absolutely worth it. I want to do it again.
The concept of Genshin's endgame and the effect it has on long-term players is even more infuriating. Usually, when you explore a world, do all the missions, fight all the bosses, and see all the sights, you finish that game, and you move on to the next one. But MiHoYo can't just have their players jumping ship to anything else, so going inactive is disincentivized through daily quests, Welkin Moon logins, Spiral Abyss resets, battle passes, and the resin system, despite a lack of genuinely interesting content in the months between major updates. Oh cool, a new event. I wonder what kind of stuff I'll get to do. Upon returning from my failed sparring match with Raiden Shogun, I was reminded of how dull Genshin Impact really is, despite having serious potential. Combat makes up so much of the core gameplay loop, but there's practically zero skill, strategy, or creativity involved. Failing a fight simply meant I needed to level my characters, weapons, and artifacts before trying again, and at one point, the numbers were so fucked up that I needed a friend to carry me through bosses because I couldn't undo the world level increase I mentioned earlier. The fleeting moments of exciting exploration feel at odds with the mundane daily grind to prepare new characters for battle. Genshin feels like a crude amalgamation of multiple game ideas smashed into one. Sometimes it wants to be Breath of the Wild, and other times it wants to be a story-driven action RPG, but it's too much of a grindy mobile game nightmare to succeed in either of those categories. At that point, instead of wasting hours every day in a bottomless pit of grinding and spending, I could just fire up Bayonetta or Devil May Cry and play a game that focuses on engaging combat without constantly reminding me of the elephant in the room. In the gaming sphere, I'm basically an old man. I just want to buy a game and get to play the whole game, but clearly it's not that easy anymore, and there's a reason Genshin has managed to rise to the top while hundreds of passion projects live on the wayside. Gambling and psychological tricks have been normalized within the gaming ecosystem, from daily rewards and loot boxes to battle passes and gacha systems. Oh, and people just stream real gambling to children too. Isn't that awesome? Problem is, as Genshin Impact continues to grow, so too does the blissful ignorance that comes along with mobile games and their communities. Fans of Genshin Impact will say, MiHoYo is so generous, to somehow defend the ruthless gacha rates. I beat the whole game without spending a penny, and you can clear endgame content with the base characters, to ignore the fact that one might have more fun by taking a crack at the potentially infinite paywall. While these comments may apply to a specific subset of players, the amount of money MiHoYo is generating makes Genshin Impact anything but free. $1 billion in the first 6 months. Good God, you people are horny. The developers purposefully make rare characters visually appealing and more interesting to play while leaving the freebies somewhat underwhelming, and the game will constantly remind you of this. Both mandatory and optional story missions include flashy cutscenes and trial dungeons that let you wreak havoc with premium characters, which made the rat in my brain go, man, I wish I had Diluc. I mean, I have another kidney. It doesn't stop at base gameplay either, as every character has a utility passive to cut out a little bit of the bullshit. Characters like Venti and Kazuha are given abilities that make collecting and exploration less of a hassle, others can double crafting results or refund ingredients, some can reveal important materials on the map, and the list goes on. Okay, seriously, why the fuck does Kazuha get a double jump? Like, why do I have to pay for a double jump? Do you know how useful that would be? The defense that the game can be fully experienced without spending money quickly falls apart when you realize that every paid feature either gives you an opportunity for more fun or cuts out the intentionally placed grinding. So to prove this point to you, dear viewer, I decided to go against every logical impulse in my body and spend money on the game while I was still in the early stages. At least, it's a tax write-off.
Oh, hey. Is she fire?
Yes.
Fire.
Let's fucking go! I don't have to use the hammer anymore! Yes! Yeah! Okay, Genshin Impact is good again. The normalization of greedy, manipulative game design is what upsets me the most about Genshin. For many players, these games aren't even about the gameplay, but rather pulling that overpowered character, or the one they want the most, or the newest, hottest girl, or guy, or... Oh no.
Are you here for playtime with Klee?
The stress-filled gambling that fuels the gacha economy is what drives content, community discussions, and memes about the genre as a whole. Bad luck and suffering are parts of the experience. They're often a bonding feature amongst friend groups. Hell, just the concept of the word pity when referring to failed pulls is disgusting. It's a game treating its player like a starving animal if their luck is bad enough, throwing crumbs so they won't scurry away. On the positive end, sharing your lucky pulls on social media and referring your friends is often directly incentivized by MiHoYo to make others feel they have a better chance at a rigged, unbiased machine. Content creators, whether sponsored or not, further push this agenda by using cutesy or clickbait titles about the thousands of dollars they've spent on the game so far, parading around the ability to drop amounts that would be incredibly unhealthy for the average player. And the paid offerings don't just stop at gacha rolls. Alongside the blessing of the Welkin Moon that gives you primo gems for logging in every day, the game's battle pass just feels like a slap in the face to any respect Genshin could have for the free time of its players. For $10 or $20, oh, discounted from $21.98, what a steal! You can purchase the Gnostic Hymn or Gnostic Chorus. While the end of these passes include a weapon of your choice, the rewards consist entirely of in-game currencies and items. So what do these gold coins, experience crystals, and leveling books all have in common? Well, they're all rewards that can be earned by playing the game, but are generally viewed through a different lens. They're earned by grinding, by performing the same tasks over and over, killing enemies upon enemies, opening chest after chest. Genshin Impact isn't the only gacha game to implement this system, but when a reward pass doesn't consist of cosmetics, but rather items that allow you to play less of a game, what does that say about the actual gameplay loop? If every moment is actually fun, and the big open world is exciting to explore, shouldn't there be zero interest in microtransactions to strengthen your character?
Well, I think it means that only a small corner of Genshin Impact has any actual thought put into it, but players are tricked into believing that the hundreds of hours they dump into the game are valuable. No shit!
While the first anniversary's controversial lack of both content and rewards seemed to serve as the straw that broke the camel's back for certain players, it was easy to predict that it'd have very little impact on the long-term success of the game. Some players have always believed MiHoYo is stingy with rewards, with dedicated fans saying the opposite. I had a feeling that the dust would settle after a couple weeks, and with Hu Tao's rerun breaking almost every sales record, I was right. It's easy to find thousands and thousands of people in the vocal minority, but they're a drop in the pond compared to the tens of millions still happily playing. Regardless, I was just having the time of my life watching the world burn. As I've stated in several of my past videos, I have plenty of friends that continue to play gacha games, and I'm not looking to insult people for finding enjoyment in things just because I'm not exactly an adoring fan. Despite everything I've said in this video, I did play Genshin Impact for over 100 hours, and it's not like every second was miserable. I get why people pour so much time into this game. Sometimes they aren't looking for the next intense single-player experience that keeps them on their toes in every moment of gameplay, or immersed in every perfectly written story beat. They want something simple to come back to every day, to spend time idling away and experience that sense of commitment and progression without a ton of skill or practice required, to spend time chatting with their friends while grinding bosses and artifacts together, or just to gush over their favorite characters. I think camaraderie and connection is a frequently ignored reason as to why people gravitate towards gacha games, especially those with multiplayer functionality. The most fun I had in my time with Genshin Impact, along with other games like Dragalia Lost and Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, fuck you, you fucking suck, was fumbling around in co-op with my friends.
We did it. We finished the storyline.
We finished the game.
Yes.
Oh my god. What can I be? Hey guys.
Because people love this game so much, I know I'm bound to attract some angry comments, which is why I wanted to bring all this up. I think hardcore fans of most media can often misconstrue criticism as a personal attack on them or the thing they love, so it can be tough to talk about games like Genshin without hearing knee-jerk reactions about people not having enough self-control or every other game doing the same thing.
Because you can't guarantee that telling an ignorant person the truth will improve the situation instead of exacerbating it.
Damn, you didn't have to say it to their face. At the end of the day, while I'd love to love Genshin Impact and all the hard work put in by talented musicians, world designers, and character artists, I despise what it actually is, the practices it continues to normalize for newcomers, and the ways in which MiHoYo mistreats their fanbase. Players deserve to be respected, not exploited for financial gain, and I'm fine with sounding like a broken record if it means I can continue to reiterate that there are talented developers selling their life's work for the same price as a 10 pull. I know that Genshin is free while a Switch plus Breath of the Wild is $350, but man, the entire Supergiant collection for $40 is literally daylight robbery. If someone gets invested in Genshin Impact because they're a fan of RPGs and anime, but they aren't too good with handling finances, or they really want the girl that pulls a sword out of her tits, it can easily lead to addiction and massive amounts of reckless spending. Self-control should not be a prerequisite for enjoying a video game, nor does it excuse manipulative design tactics. I fucking hate the self-control argument. If you need to blame the addictive tendencies and personal struggles of players to somehow defend the features of a popular video game, then it shouldn't be marketed as a game, it should be regulated like a gambling product. Just because a game is free to download doesn't mean the entire experience is free, or that no one else will be tempted to spend money on a game specifically designed to make you want to spend money. At that point, if the interesting gameplay mechanics or characters you desire in an action RPG are locked behind repetitive grinding, a mediocre stamina system, daily rewards, a battle pass, and an unscalable gacha paywall, does the game being free really mean anything? And the strangest thing is, despite all of this, despite everything I've said in this video, the addictive tactics worked on a subconscious level, and I still feel that demonic itch to jump back in and watch funny numbers go up. So I'm really excited to do this right now.
Yeah, congratulations. Really congratulations.
He's doing it.
He's actually the most proud. I've never been proud. This is the best thing you've ever done. Far better than any accomplishment you've ever had.
Oh my God.
Congratulations!
Throw a gunshot in there somewhere.
That's about it for my insane ramblings though. This video was quite the endeavor, so if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, and I also have a Patreon in the description if you'd like to help support these big crazy projects of mine. But before I continue in my quest to promote games that are actually fun, I have one more thing to take care of.